First of all, a little bit of background. So for the past decade, Dr Tessa Poller, who's from the University of Glasgow, has been surveying and digging the Iron Age hillforts of the Strathearn region in Scotland. And she wanted to create a resource that not only shares the story of the archaeology itself, but also gives an insight into how these interpretations form. So through my previous work, I developed some concerns relating to the ways audiences are conditioned to passively engage with interpretive material. And I'd really started to realise that we need to go further than simply presenting an image as a speculative interpretive statement. But we should also explore ways of engaging audiences with layered narratives which begin to demonstrate why this is the case. So with this in mind, I became interested in ways of presenting my visual work in a way which perhaps better reflects the broader processes of archaeological interpretation. And what naturally developed was the concept of an interactive interface which facilitates multivocal and multi-layered narratives on the SERF Hillforts project. So just a very quick introduction to the team. So we've got, as I said, Tessa Poller, who is the excavation director. We've got John Anderson, who was our web development and interface design wizard. We've got myself and almost Dr. Kieran Baxter. As you can see, Kieran and I have worked together for a very long time. And we form quite an efficient little team now. So Kieran's aerial work provides the landscapes that I'm then able to build my reconstructions up onto, so you can kind of contextualise the site itself within the wider landscape. And then we've also got Kieran Duncan, who is usually more at home hanging off a cliff making adventure climbing films, but somehow we managed to convince him to work with us on an archaeology film. So in a 5-minute talk, it might seem a bit excessive to introduce the entire team, but I think that the mixture of truly interdisciplinary skills on this project was really, really crucial to its success. So I found that working collaboratively is hugely beneficial, not only in terms of the standard and the scope of the work produced, but also because it places me in a position which encourages reflexivity on my own approaches to visualization. So I found that working at an art school the past few years has really taught me how to view problems of archaeological visualization both as a creative process and as a design problem. And I think especially as we're here to discuss ways of presenting ambiguity and sharing the decision-making process, just being in that environment which encourages reflexivity and experimentation and creativity is really key. So the project overall demonstrates the possibilities for bringing together a range of visual digital materials. So we've got photogrammetry, aerial photography, survey data, 3D reconstruction, filmmaking, animation. We did it all. To open up the processes behind the excavation and interpretation to a more general audience and act as a dynamic archive now that the excavations are concluded. So the really important thing for us here, I think, was that we were representing the archaeological processes and materials, so the types of materials that archaeologists use every single day in the field to form their interpretations. So survey material, plans, finds analysis. We've also got all the reports that are available within the interface as well, so you can kind of dig deeper if you want to. And this is alongside the more creative interpretive material, like the reconstructions, the artifacts and things like that, and we're folding these narratives together. And as I kind of briefly mentioned before, we're also presenting the site from a landscape scale right down to the site itself, right down to the artifacts. So from very, very big to very, very small, and kind of bringing that all together. And so at the outset of the project, we were very committed to sharing this idea of the trench edge interpretations that were happening in the field. And we spent a lot of time on site recording discussions with Tessa and the other archaeologists who were digging the site. And these conversations then led to the content that was created for the resource. And although we had features like the different cutaway examples of the wall on the hill fort, and then we've also got, I'll give you a link to it later so you can play around, but the pinboard here animates, and you can see, you can hear Tessa talking, the other archaeologists, and you see scribbles on the maps and things as the kind of the interpretations coming together. So although we had these features, we also felt that maybe a lot of that important discussion was kind of becoming too polished and too nice and neat. I'm almost finished, I've got just 2 paragraphs to go. We felt, it was being lost basically as the project finalised. So we came up with this concept for the director's cut audio commentary. And basically this allows users to hear discussions, slightly awkward discussions between various specialists relating to how the excavations were planned, how the decisions were made, and the interpretations reached. Interpretations which of course then manifest into the types of compelling visuals which are the subject of much critical discussion kind of within our field today. That paired with the visual design of the archaeologists and specialist desk backdrops kind of all started to come together to invite the audience very much behind the scenes as much as possible, and hopefully without making the addition of, I suppose you'd term it paradata, without making that too tedious. I'm kind of trying to make it feel a bit natural. So as a final thought, through this project, I found that adopting an approach which forefronts interaction facilitates audience engagement through play. And I think that this is a very crucial factor in actively getting the brain thinking and questioning, rather than one which perhaps encourages passive observation, which is something I very much started to feel limited by in my work in kind of still imagery of reconstruction and kind of linear narratives within short film and animation. So that's something that I very much want to explore moving forward. That's me. Oh, and if you want to visit and have a play around, please do. This is basically all an interactive website. It's just kind of very simple online. So, yeah, please go online and play.